Hi, my name is Jaden McBride for the Chapter 8.1 graded assignment where we had to do a self-audit. I chose the University of Louisville. So basically what a self-audit is, it starts out with a three-pronged test. Um, just a brief overview of Title IX. Title IX states that if an institution sponsors athletic programs, that equal athletic opportunities must be provided for both males and females. According to the LTC 506, the three-pronged test provides three alternative means of compliance with the participation opportunities requirement. A school needs to satisfy only one of these three in order to comply. So basically what that is saying is that there's a three-pronged test. There are three different tests that you are conducting, but to be in compliance with Title IX, a university only has to pass one of the three. So the three prongs are, the first one is a school may provide athletic participation opportunities for female students which are substantially proportional to the female percentage of enrollment at the school. Prong 2, a school may demonstrate a history and continuing practice of expanding its sports offerings for women in the very recent past. And 3, a school may show that it is fully and effectively accommodating the athletic interests and abilities of the women in its student body. So before I got into which prong I chose, I wanted to kind of give you a brief overview of the university I chose. So at the University of Louisville, the athletic department participates in the Atlantic Coast Conference, otherwise known as the ACC. There are 9 male sports teams that they offer, which are baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, soccer, swimming and diving, tennis, and track and field. And then for the women, they offer 12 sports teams. Those 12 sports teams are basketball, cross country, field hockey, golf, lacrosse, rowing, soccer, softball, swimming and diving, tennis, track and field, and volleyball. So for this Title IX test, I chose prong 1, and prong 1 is substantial proportionality prong. Athletic participation must approximately match the female and male enrollment ratio of the school. For example, all that is saying is that if 50% of the school is male and 50% of the school is female, then in the athletic program there should be about 50% male and 50% female participation. At the University of Louisville, after some research, I found that the total undergrad students enrolled is 15,985. I only chose the undergraduate students enrolled because those are the students who are full-time and are eligible to participate in sports teams. Out of that 15,985 students, there are 7,931 males and 8,054 females. So component 1 is effective accommodation of athletics, interests, and abilities. Basically, in prong number 1, it's asking if the athletic participation rate of women substantially proportional to enrollment percentage of women. So for number 1, you're going to find the female enrollment percentage, and all of that is taking the number of girls enrolled at the school, which is in this case is 8,054, and dividing it by the total number of students enrolled at the school, which, as I said earlier, was 15,985. So once I do that, for part 1, I got 50.3%. The second step that you're going to take is finding the unduplicated female participation rate. This is just taking the number of girls participating in one or more sports. So, for instance, if they're participating in volleyball and track, or basketball and softball, or maybe they're participating in 3 sports and they're also swimming and playing softball and volleyball. And then you're going to take that number that you have of the one or more sport girls who are participating and divide it by the number of total students participating in one or more sports. So at the University of Louisville, this would be taking 138 girls participating in one or more sports and dividing it by a total of 215 students participating in one or more sports. When I did that, I came out with 64%. For the third step, you're going to have to find the duplicated female participation rate. So to do this, you take the number of total participants by girls in all sports and divide it by the total participants of boys and girls in all sports. So the total participants by girls was 362, and we're going to divide that by the total number of boys and girls in all sports, and that was 695. So after doing that, I came up with a total of 52%. Next step, you're going to find the unduplicated participation variance. So that is just taking what we got for step 1, which is the female enrollment percentage, and subtracting step 2 from that, which is the unduplicated female participation rate. So for that, I had to take 50.3%, which is what we got in step 1, and subtract 64%, which is what we got in step 2, and I ended up coming up with negative 13.7%. For the duplicated participation variance, which is our next step, you have to take step 1 and subtract step 3 from that. So in this case, I took the female enrollment percentage, which was 50.3%, and subtracted the duplicated female participation rate, which was 52%. And after doing that, we came up with a duplicated participation variance of negative 1.7%. The results, the unduplicated variance was negative 13.7%, as I stated earlier, and the duplicated was negative 1.7%. Because school enrollments fluctuate and sports participation is going to vary throughout the year, whether it's kids are quitting the teams, you're adding players to teams, you're suffering injuries, kids are getting hurt and deciding that they want to focus on academics. Trying to have strict proportionality is really unrealistic. That's why they went with substantial. That said, a 5% variance was kind of what was agreed upon and deemed acceptable by several out-of-court settlements. So up to 5% variance is what they are going to say is in compliance with Title IX. Based on the numbers, I'm not really sure if this is 100% correct because my numbers were negative, but since they were negative, I'm assuming that's better than what they needed. That means we have very good female to male participation rate at the school. So I said that the University of Louisville was in compliance with prong 1, and because with this 3-prong test you only have to pass one of the prongs, I said that U of L would not need to continue on with prong 2 or 3. If you don't pass the first prong, I don't think you necessarily need to skip right ahead to prong 2 or 3. It's always best to check with somebody and make sure that there wasn't anything done wrong, there wasn't any information input wrong. It's always good to double check. So yes, we passed prong 1, but even after passing it, not just if you don't pass it, even if you pass it, I think it's best to just get a second opinion, have somebody take a second look at it, and be sure that everything you've entered is correct. So the importance of self-audits for athletic directors, I said that it was important that administrators know and understand Title IX regulations and rules so that they avoid any form of lawsuit. Not complying with Title IX can put the institution into trouble and under investigation. So just making sure that they know and understand what numbers they have to meet, what variance they have to meet, and making sure that they're doing everything they can to ensure that that happens. Secondly, to stay on track with Title IX, administrators need to know and track their variances so changes can be made if needed. So if they come out with a 30% variance one year, administrators need to know that. They need to know that, hey, something's got to change. We might have to eliminate this program. We might have to up our participation numbers, our roster sizes, just to be in compliance, because after so long there could be penalties and those unnecessary lawsuits that you don't really want to deal with. Third, I said be sure to qualify with one of the 3 prongs. So it's important to know how to perform a self-audit. That way you know that you're going to qualify with one of the 3 and still be in compliance with Title IX. And I think it's important to know how to perform a complete self-audit, not just one prong. You pass the first one, don't just move on. Especially in your first year, make sure that you are doing the entire self-audit. You're testing all 3 prongs and getting yourself familiar, because in case you run into a year where you don't pass prong 1, you need to move on to prong 2. You don't pass prong 2, you move on to prong 3. It's important that you're not blindsided and that you know what to do. I also think that, just lastly, I wanted to say that this was a great learning tool to be able to complete my own self-audit as an athletic director someday. Learning exactly what a self-audit is and what 3 prongs have to be tested in order to comply with Title IX is something that I find very important as a female athlete myself and as a coach in female athletics. I think it's something that we've always heard talked about, like Title IX, you have to have equal participation for both genders, but we never really went into great detail. So I thought that this was an awesome test and something that athletic directors really need to know how to use.